Well, guys, man, the NFL is back. The NFL preseason is in full swing, and Shedeur Sanders of the Cleveland Browns has captivated the audience, and all the headlines are about Shedeur Sanders. We got some interesting things we want to talk about today, and we're going to dive all into that next here on the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Well, guys, man, Shedeur Sanders made his NFL preseason debut last Friday against the Carolina Panthers, where he went 12 of 18 for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also, he had 3 carries for 19 yards, and he led the Cleveland Browns to a victory over the Carolina Panthers. Now, after the game, Shedeur Sanders spoke at the press conference, and he basically was saying, with the opportunity, he did some good things, but he left a lot out on the table, and he wasn't satisfied. Also, he said he won't make the same mistakes twice. Now, we all know Shedeur Sanders was a 5th-round pick, which he should have been a 1st-round pick. It was a lot of teams that passed up on him. Cleveland passed up on him 4 or 5 times. And then all of a sudden, with that 5th pick in the 5th round for the Cleveland Browns, they selected Shedeur Sanders. Now, Shedeur Sanders has been in the spotlight ever since he stepped on the stage with his dad at Jackson State. He started his college career off at FAMU, and then he went to Jackson State where his dad coached, and he broke the scene. Everybody saw what Shedeur Sanders was capable of doing. Then he went to Colorado, and he turned that program around. We saw the great ball skills. We saw the arm talent. We saw him hitting his receivers only where the receivers could catch it. It didn't hurt that he had Travis Hunter. We know Travis Hunter went to 2nd pick to Jacksonville, but Shedeur Sanders should have been a 1st-round pick. And a lot of teams that passed up on him, they probably sitting there kicking themselves after what they saw Shedeur Sanders do to the Carolina Panthers in their preseason opener for the Cleveland Browns. And that's despite of Shedeur Sanders not getting no first-team reps in practice, limited time on the field with the first team. And Shedeur Sanders was just putting in work, and Shedeur Sanders said he was just grateful for the opportunity, and he got his opportunity, and he shined in his preseason debut. Now, it's a lot of critics out there, saying that, with that performance, he should have moved up in the depth chart. They got him listed as number 4 behind Dillon Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, and Joe Flacco. And that quarterback carousel in Cleveland is full because you still got Deshaun Watson. I know he's injured. You got Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, and Tyler Huntley. Now, we all know what Tyler Huntley can do in the NFL. He's a serviceable backup, but the limelight is on Shedeur Sanders. But Shedeur Sanders went down yesterday with an oblique injury that he suffered, and he was held out of, practice, but he was fully dressed. So, but Kevin Stefanski, made some comments not expecting Shedeur Sanders to go on Saturday when they play the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I've always said this is a gift and a curse right here because of the fact that Shedeur Sanders got some game tape. We see what Shedeur Sanders was capable of doing. He set the bar high. So now you got to put in Dillon Gabriel. Now, Dillon Gabriel been suffered with a hamstring injury. And see, the thing about it is he's been out, but he's still been getting first-team reps. He's been throwing the ball in practice. But a lot of reports out there saying Dillon Gabriel is not looking too good in, training camp. And now that Shedeur Sanders can't go on Saturday, now this is Dillon Gabriel's opportunity to show the world why the Cleveland Browns picked him ahead of Shedeur Sanders. Now, what this is going to do, this a lot of people think this is going to expose Dylan Gabriel and expose the Cleveland Browns organization. Now, a lot of people said that Shedeur should have moved up on the depth chart, but he didn't move up on the depth chart. He's still listed as a number 4 quarterback. This injury, I think, is not going to hurt Shedeur. It's a blessing because now you have to play Dylan Gabriel. You have to play Dylan Gabriel and see what he's capable of doing. What is the hype around Dylan Gabriel? A lot of people in training camp and a lot of people out of Cleveland and the fans and the Cleveland ESPN fan show that they run, talking about, he's not been that good in preseason. I mean, in training camp. So now he got to go against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, if he goes out there and he wets the bed, then that's going to expose the Cleveland Browns organization on picking Dylan Gabriel over Shedeur Sanders. And I've always said that Shedeur Sanders will make this roster, even though he's a 5th-round pick. Tom Brady was a 5th-round pick, and you see what Tom Brady went on to do in the NFL. And like Shedeur Sanders said, it's just legendary. Now, Chris Broussard let Rob Parker have it over the Shedeur Sanders hate. Rob Parker, on the Odd Couple with Rob G, said some things around the line that Shedeur Sanders is going to get cut. He's not going to make the team. So let's take a listen to what Rob Parker had to say on the Odd Couple. And then Chris Broussard called in the show and let Rob Parker have it. Let's take a listen to what Rob Parker had to say.
I'm even more convinced than I was before that he won't make the team and he'll get cut. This hurts him more than anybody. Like the other guys were hurt. I really do. Because when you're 4th string and now we're not going to see you, you know what I mean, this week coming up. And you didn't move up. You did pretty well, right? You used the word impressive. I say he was very good. And it wasn't like, oh, my God, we didn't know. Or what are we doing? Yes, he should be here. He should be doing this. Let's move him up. He's definitely made the team. No, he didn't make the team off that game. He didn't move up the depth chart from that game. And I'm looking at just the way that the NFL does its business, which is normally 4th string quarterbacks don't make the roster. It has nothing to do with Shedeur. I would ask anybody, give me the 4th string quarter. And didn't they move up for Dylan, right? The 3rd pick? Like they wanted him. So I'm just asking myself, how does this figure in? How does this work?
Now, you guys heard what Rob Parker had to say, man. And it's funny that Chris Broussard, he used to be his partner on the Odd Couple, and he called in and he let Rob Parker have it. And he was telling the guys, y'all let Rob Parker get away with saying this. But before we get off into what Chris Broussard had to say, we have partnered up with Underdog Fantasy. And this is a word from our sponsor. Underdog Fantasy is the best way to play fantasy sports. Let me tell you about the easiest way to get in on some WNBA and NBA action. Find your player, pick higher or lower, win you some extra cash. Pick between 2 to 5 players to fill out your pick'em entry. Get every pick right and win some serious cash. Use my promo code SBD23 and receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Now that it's football time, follow Simply Ball Dropping as I share my picks. Like I said, pick your player, choose your amount, win money. Make picks, win cash. Thank you, Underdog Fantasy, for the partnership with us. And thank you for using promo code SBD23 on Underdog Fantasy. Now, with that being said, let's take a listen to what Chris Broussard had to say.
Go. You don't call into radio shows. That's why.
Man, look, I just had a great day in New York City. I get in my car, and I hear Rob hating on Shedeur Sanders. And sure, I think Kelvin or Rob G is going to put him in his place. And you co-sign it?
How are we hating?
I had to call it.
He's a 4-string quarterback. They're not carrying 4 quarterbacks. How are we hating?
You're right. He is going to make the team. Here's the deal. And even though obviously you didn't want him to get injured, the injury helps him. Assuming he can come back next week and, he'll be fine, he already put the good tape out there. Like the last time we saw him, he was very good. And if Dylan Gabriel goes out there against the Eagles, he's going to be facing a better team.
And if he plays better, then what? Okay, say he plays well against a better team than the Eagles.
Because he's been terrible. He was 6 for 19.
Okay, but I'm asking you in the game, if he plays well, Shedeur had his 130 yards. If he has 140 yards and 2 touchdowns and no picks, then what's the conversation?
If he plays well, then they will probably keep. I think they'll trade Kenny Pickett. I think they're going to trade Kenny.
They're
Pickett.
not going to keep 2 rookie quarterbacks to back up a guy who could get hurt.
If Gabriel plays well, but I doubt he will against the Eagles. He's been bad, as Rob G said. He's been bad in the training camp. And he's not going to, he's going to be facing game planning, which they really don't do in the first preseason game. So he's going in a tougher situation. He's probably going to look bad. And that'll probably move Shedeur ahead of him on the depth chart.
Now, you heard what Rob Parker had to say, and then you heard what Chris Broussard had to say. So Chris Broussard let him have it. Things got a little ugly. Things got a little chippy. But in this situation, I do agree with Chris Broussard. This bodes well for Shedeur Sanders because now you got to put Dylan Gabriel out on that field. I don't know how his hamstring is holding up. I don't know if he's going to be elusive in the pocket. But they always say he's an undersized quarterback. He's a lefty. But we're going to see what happens Saturday night against the Philadelphia Eagles. But this might, help Shedeur Sanders out. If Dylan Gabriel goes out there like Chris Broussard said and lays a dud, then you got to move Shedeur Sanders ahead of him on the depth chart. And like I said, things gonna bode well for Shedeur, man. So we're gonna see what happens, man. But this Shedeur Sanders hate, man, it has to stop, man. And he only gets this hate because he has the confidence that his daddy has. I see everybody in the comments section #salute. And if you're not following me, please hit the subscribe button. Turn your post notifications on so every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger. And just in case I forgot, tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. And this is going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. We're going to catch you on the next. Deuce.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.